Hello, I'm Bishop William Medley of the Diocese of Owensboro, and I'm very pleased to welcome you to another edition of Across the Diocese. My guest today is Susan Montalvo-Gesser. Susan has previously been with me on this Across the Diocese because in 2019 she became the Director of Catholic Charities for our diocese, and so we introduced her. But I'm glad to welcome her back because the job she was hired to do in 2019 has changed a lot. Like so much of our lives have changed since the pandemic. And that's especially true in an area of social service. Tell us a little bit about things that you and in the name of Catholic Charities have been doing for a year now since the pandemic arrived, and whose lives you're touching.
We started out doing a lot of social service work before the pandemic, and now it's just kind of that type of work on steroids. So the need is so much greater now than it ever has been before. I was speaking with some people from the local utility company, and they were talking about how many of their clients' bills were paid by organizations like ours in comparison from December of 2020 to December 2019, and it was 4 times the amount of people. So we can see just from that the impact. People who have never had to ask for help before had to ask for help. Many who didn't even know how to ask for help. So our mission has changed because of COVID. We are the social service, the social justice arm of the church. So we really take seriously when Pope Francis said we are the field hospital for the poor. That's who we think we are. And that's what we like to, that's the service that we like to provide for the diocese. So we came in immediately with assistance, financial assistance, assistance with rent, assistance with utilities, with necessities, with food. We had mobile food pantries that were done in several areas. And then we accompanied those food pantries with information. So we partnered with Owensboro Health Hospital, the International Center, to put on some informational sessions for immigrants and refugees to learn about the pandemic and how to keep themselves safe. And that work really helped us make the curve a little less steep in our area than it was in some other areas. With the education of the Burmese community and the Latino community, the numbers for those communities had been rising, and then after we did several of those, the numbers came back down. So we're really happy with that effort. We've received a lot of donations and gotten a lot of grants.
Tell me a little bit about, obviously, a change of mission such as this type in a time of crisis required different fundings. What are some of the places you looked and found assistance to give assistance? So
usually we are planning a year in advance, and we do grants. We plan our grants a year in advance. With this, there was no warning, and the grants became available almost on a weekly basis. You would find out about a new grant that you could apply for. So initially we applied with Catholic Charities USA. We got their disaster relief grant. Then we applied for 2 or 3 other grants with Catholic Charities USA. We have one now that is just for eviction prevention for rural communities. So that includes our entire diocese minus Warren County and Davis County, because both of those counties have over 100,000 people in them. But they've allowed us to make an exception for people in those counties that are farm workers, so that we can still reach some people in those counties. But so a lot of those grants were from Catholic Charities. We also reached out to the COVID Relief Fund that's here in this area, the Green River Area COVID Relief Fund.
And the source of those funds would be federal monies, or?
No, actually it is, I think some of it is federal money, but a lot of it comes from donations to the United Way and just people donating to the Green River Area COVID Relief Fund. They funded, we got 4 rounds of grants from them. to do assistance. And then we meet on a weekly basis with other organizations in the area who are doing similar work to us. So Audubon Area Community Services, the United Way, the Help Office, and the Salvation Army. And we tell each other, do you all have money this week? Who are you all helping this week? Where are your grants? Because a lot of these grants that are given, it's almost like making a pizza. And you have a grantor that will give you cheese, and you have a grantor that will give you pepperonis. You may not have a grantor that's giving you the crust or the bread. So we like to work together because the whole person needs the whole pizza. And so we can tell each other, we have money for this, this, and this week. How are you all doing? And so we help each other, we communicate, and through that work we've been able to assist a whole lot of people.
Can you give us a rough estimate of what extraordinary spending has come through Catholic Charities in the past? We're coming up on a year of the pandemic.
So we've done approximately $306,000 in direct assistance.
And that would compare to what would be a normal year.
So just to show you what this is like, that is about 4 times our complete budget for all of the services that we would provide in a year. And that's just for COVID relief. Yeah. Okay. So it's amazingly different.
Yeah. And the need is not diminishing just yet?
No. I'm happy to say that I've gotten my first vaccine, and I know other people have gotten their vaccine, and that's wonderful. We're glad to see that some of the case numbers are coming down, but the need is still very great.
And I have to assume that some of the people you're assisting, 1 or 2 incomes in the household has been lost.
Yes.
Because of jobs, if they worked in restaurants or public service where they were laid off. So it's a need that couldn't have been foreseen or even measured.
Exactly. Yeah. And a lot of people are working to get another job or something like that, and then they are faced with other issues because of that. The strain on children in the family, and having to take care of them during the day, whereas they used to be in school. That's been very hard on a lot of families. So it's been a struggle across the diocese.
So going forward, do you see the need for utility assistance, food, that will continue to be the main?
Those will be the great needs that we see in the future, mainly because the moratorium on evictions is no longer going to be there, so there are going to be a whole lot of people who are going to be maybe forced to leave their homes. The utility services are starting to cut off services now, and so that's going to be a big need. So yeah, we do see that there's going to be a great need for a long time.
Yeah. You spoke of the grants that you got. Have you seen much of an increase in contributions just from our people, specifically for this cause?
Yeah, that's one of the things that has made me smile. Just seeing all of the outpouring of generosity from the diocese. We've seen about $75,000 donated just from small contributions, big contributions. One of my favorites is that we had one of the first people we gave assistance to was a young lady whenever Brescia University had to let the students out of the dorms last year. And she had to go back and be with her mom, and her mom lost her job because of COVID. Her little brother was in school and they were doing distance learning, and they cut off their internet, and her brother couldn't do his schoolwork. So we contributed, we helped them out to pay for their rent and got them internet service. And she called us probably 5 or 6 months later and asked if she could give the money back because they were back on their feet. And I said, no, you don't. This is something we did for you so that you all could get back on your feet. Please don't feel like you have to give it back. And that young lady sent us a $300 check for a donation. And she said, so that you all can help somebody else that was in the same position that we were in. And I was just, blown over by that.
I'm sure some people hearing you talk would think, well, internet's not an essential service. But in an age where children could not go back to school, and their only way of continuing education was through the internet, all of a sudden something that would seem before like a luxury became an essential service.
Yes, and one of the great things that we've learned through doing this is the other resources that are out there to help do that. So with this family, we found out that there is a place that will provide free internet service, and we were able to put the family in contact with them so that they could get their internet service restored. So a lot of what we do isn't even the dollars and cents that we're handing out for financial assistance. It is getting people to the right resource to take care of what their need is at that time.
Well, I'm not one to boast on my own charity, but I'm blessed, as many of our people are, that I have not been financially impacted by the coronavirus, by the pandemic. I've been emotionally impacted. I've been impacted in terms of my visiting my congregation, but financially, because of a lot of different reasons, that didn't change. So last year, when I got the $1,200 check, the day I got it, I sent it to Catholic Charities. And in January, when I got the $600 check, I sent it to Catholic Charities. And I tell that, again, not to boast, but there are a lot of people like me who have not financially been burdened by the pandemic. And a lot of them are going to get another check. And I encourage them to send it to Catholic Charities or another charity of their choice, because I'm sure the figures you're giving me about the demand quadrupling and more is true of almost every help organization right now. So those of us who are blessed need to share those blessings. And I understand I'm going to get another check. You'll get that too.
Well, we thank you for that. And it was not just great to receive those checks because they were helpful for us to help other people, but it was so good to see that it was from you.
Oh, well.
It was that.
Well, as I say, it's not my style to tell anybody that, but if that would inspire one person who has an abundance because of in these hard times to help others, I'm willing to do that. So, anything else you ought to tell us about the pandemic and your work right now?
I think that probably wraps up most of the stuff. We've done a lot of the direct aid, and like I said, we've worked on getting a list of resources together to where we can help people help themselves. So we hope in the next year that we'll get a publication of those resources out to deaneries and parishes of what resources are in their area for immediate help for people.
And I know some of this story has been told in our diocesan paper, the West Kentucky Catholic, and we need to continue to tell that story. Thank you for your good work and all the people that join around you to do that. Thank you to the donors, and keep up the good work. Jesus said, as long as you do it for one of these, the least of my brothers and sisters, you do it for me. So everything we do for Jesus.
Yes.
Thank you, Susan.
Thank you, Bishop.